instead of soft skills, communication, attitude, companies seem to put all the weight on the technical skills up front. Man, I think they miss so many good people just because they don't perform well in a live coding interview. That's not realistic at all, right? They expect you not to be able to Google. You can't look anything up. You have to have everything memorized. And that's not realistic at all. All the things that you would have in your day job, you're expected not to use now. It doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense at all. I get it. People want to measure something. When I was hiring in the past, when I was running a team, we would do these kind of a take-home exercise. Here's a bit of code, write it using the tools use whatever you want to use, take no more than a couple of hours, send us back what you've written. And that was great because that was a bit more real world. But then when I went to one of these big outsourcing companies, and you would get 10 people submitting exactly the same code. One even had someone else's name in the README. All the spelling mistakes were identical. So those take-home tests are hard because you can cheat. Really, the only way you can tell how good a coder someone is to get them in. So there's a company in New Zealand that used to actually do this. So they would pay you for a day's work. You would come in, pair up with one of the engineers, and you would try and solve a bug, one that already been solved, and they can see how do you work with people on the team? How are you gathering the information that you need? How are you learning about the project? And just see that can you do all those different processes that we do on a day-to-day basis in the work environment, and then possibly write some code. Just your ability to navigate the project, to know who to talk to and the questions to ask, gave them an idea that you had enough understanding. And that's probably the closest I've ever seen to a good real-world interview. It's a really hard problem. I'm a big fan of getting people to have portfolios. Put everything on your GitHub, code in public, so that at least you've got some reference to what people are doing. You want to see my coding skills? I've got videos of me writing code. I've got code samples out there. I've got blog posts out there. And I've got the evidence to prove that I can write code. And that's something I keep telling a lot of early in career folks. If I'm interviewing you, I only want to have some proof that you can code. So what do you have out there? Do you have something on GitHub that I can just run? And it's not just about the code you've written. Have you got a good README for it? Can I go to your project, understand what the project is, and understand how to run it to see how it works? It feels like the trend for leak code is dying out, which is a good thing. You have to solve this coding problem in this tool that's not the real world. Why? All it tests is, did I solve that leak code problem last week and remember the solution?
I also am a fan of the contract to hire model. It's kind of like a try before you buy, date for a little while before you get married, find out who is not just interviewing very well, but actually when they get into the job, who actually is performing well and is enjoyable to work with. Takes a lot of risk off of the hiring manager. Otherwise, you're hiring permanent employees, and it's going to be a process to cut somebody. You had to get documentation, go through HR, all this stuff. Contract to hire is the way to go. That way, at the end of 3 months or 6 months, convert them to a permanent employee once you're sure that it's a good fit.